started. We got to be able to get by 5.
Turn the air on here.
So real quickly, here are my big names here. So I just found out today that I'm going to be the person introducing it. I'm Cece. I've been here as a teacher for 10 or 11 years, but as a parent, my son,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. My son started the day after he turned 3, and he's a freshman in college. So I've been around the block. So just some information, and well, I guess let's introduce ourselves, and then I'll give you why we're all here.
My name is Jen Spicer. I'm a yoga teacher in Diamond Studio.
And I'm Kyla. I'm in the studio.
I'm Cody. I'm a turquoise.
All right, it's easy enough. All right, so it's super cool to see all of you guys here. Really. So we have invited you here because our objective is really to create a partnership with you in the education of your child, and part of the education of your child is their physical development as well as their intellectual development and moral development and all of that. So we kind of just want to let you know what we're going to be doing. You guys will have the conversation at home. But what I tell kids every year when we start this is, I can't guarantee you're ever going to use algebra. And I can't guarantee that you're going to do poetry or any of that. But I can guarantee you're going to go through this. You know, it's a solid thing that I know I can tell you. And so it's super important that they kind of hear all of that information. So, we have a bunch of slides, and you're going to have lots of questions, and we'll answer some, but probably not all of them. But we kind of want to give you some background about why this is so important, and then how we approach it. All right?
Can we get the slides after this?
I'm sorry.
Can we get the slides after this?
Yes.
We're gonna make them available to you in the studio notes home on Friday, and then we also have like a little pamphlet to give you today with some other information. That's great.
And we can put it on the Informed Montessori blog where the video's going to be.
So I just wanted to start with just a general quote that I found that kind of sums up our philosophy at school, but also hopefully the way that you're choosing to interact with your children. And it's basically giving them consistent communication on an ongoing basis. So I don't know how many of you, I remember my family didn't really do this. I heard about the talk when my mom saw me looking at a teen magazine one day when I was like 14 years old. So that probably wasn't the better approach, but I learned a lot of what I learned on the back of the school bus. So they don't have that option here, but I think it's important to remember that our job and our goal as both family members and staff is to give them honest, accurate, reliable information as it comes up on an ongoing, just neutral basis. So that was on the first, you'll get a copy of that in a minute, but then a couple of really quick, that's from an article too that we can also share with you. A couple of just really quick points, do's and don'ts is what they call them in the article. Clarify your own values as a family together. Don't wait until they're teenagers. Do make yourself available. Don't use pet names for private parts. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Do consider the setting for your conversations. Don't overshare, and explain their rights, responsibilities, and what's at stake. So appropriate conversations at appropriate times, developmental. And then Chris is not able to be with us tonight, but she gathered a couple of kind of some facts and statistics about why this is so important to share with your kids as it comes up beginning at this age level. So we try to gear some of the statistics that we found toward the 9 to 12 or 13 to 15 age range, but some of them are pretty alarming. So we'll let you look at those. Cody's going to share those on her behalf tonight, and then we'll go from there.
Thanks, Kyla. Yeah, like Kyla was just saying, Chris prepared these, and we're just going to kind of go through them. And like we said earlier, we're going to make sure to share this with you all in our notes home and through the blog and stuff. So, I don't know, especially you guys to put all this away in the back of your mind and just know it. All right. Internet pornography has become sex education for many children, particularly among younger children. This is a quote right here. Particularly among younger children, exposure to pornography may be disturbing or upsetting. Pornography is abhorrent and dangerous. Sex education. 93.2% of boys and 62.1% of girls have seen online pornography before the age of 18. And a bit of like a glimpse into my life. Like I was aware that it existed by the time I was in 6th grade, and that was back in the time before like high-speed internet was like happening. Granted, like I'm not, you know.
You're a good guy.
But that being said, like I say that as a anyway. So all this say, like I was super aware of it, like from the age that a lot of our 9 to 12-year-olds, like a lot of our 9 to 12-year-olds are super aware of it at this point in time, and don't even know what they're stumbling on half the time because it's so easy to just accidentally click a thing, and then all of a sudden it's there, and it's something that like is, I think, shocking. And there's so much of like our current media that runs on shock value that I think it becomes addictive. Like. What wasn't it that we put?
Yeah, we were talking about this thing on Lisa Ling, this specific one about that she did on pornography, and that they're looking at sexual addiction, pornography addiction, to be on the DSM-5 in the near future. Like they're seeing so much of that is coming.
Yeah. So not to make anyone, you know, I'm not trying to like put like fear of. Like make you guys operate according to fear, but that's just
right.
Just
the way it has to be aware of.
Right. And the next slide says, of an online sexual imagery survey, 97% of boys have viewed pornography. Of those, 23% said that they tried to stop watching it but could not. 13% reported content they watched has become more and more extreme. 7% sought professional help because they felt their porn habit was getting out of control. So, is that the end?
Yeah.
Of an online sexual imagery survey, 80% of girls aged 16 to 20 had watched pornography. Of those, 8% felt that they could not stop watching. 2% said that content they watched become more extreme. More and younger children are accessing internet. I know they guys can read, but I'm just reading that loud. More and younger children are accessing internet pornography. Average age of first exposure is 11. That's an average age, so remember that that's a range. However, children under 10 now account for 22% of online porn consumption under 18. 22%. Virtually all cases of internet sex crimes involve youth 12 and up. Most victims are ages 13.
Okay, so then that kicks off going into the next thing, which is internet safety. So some of these facts that Chris read off are super alarming. And so what can you do with it as a parent? I am an older parent. When I was a kid, we had Atari and Commodore 64s, and you did not have the ability to go on and put in a word and have things pop up, or a symbol and have things pop up. So I am operating, and I think some of you, maybe probably half of you, some may not, are operating on things that you have not experienced as a child. They may be devices that are coming out. You may not even know what it does, and your kid comes home and goes, I want this, and you're like, I don't even know what that is. So that's what some of this is going to address today. Challenges that we are seeing, our youth face online is cyberbullying. We see this a lot. They get online, especially the gamers. They get online. An argument starts online. It spews over into school. There is a special. It's actually in the resources that's called Being 13, which is a little bit over some of ours. It was. It's about an hour special. I put the link on there. It was fascinating what happens and how fast it happens, and how fast they're checking it, and they know it. Something can be posted online, and then in seconds they're talking about it, and then that comes into school. So cyberbullying is one thing they're facing. The exchange of explicit material and what that means for your child, having those conversations, and
online enticement. Those are some of the things that we will be addressing. So what do we do as parents? Our biggest thing is educating yourself. Knowing the different sites, knowing what they are, knowing what the device does. That's a whole lot of knowing, right? In this packet that I've included, there are 2 websites on there. One, literally, if you go through it, it will break down almost every website, every parental control, like how to do that, what to expect, what is on there. It was a wealth of information. One of the things that you can do is getting involved with them. If they want to play Fortnite online, play Fortnite online with them. If they want to play Minecraft online, being a part of their online life is just as important as being a part of their life in the actual world. That's probably one of the biggest things that I saw in the resources. Do you want to go ahead and hand this out? There are so many resources online as a parent. There's so many things you can do. And then a really interesting story. So we have the Plume app at home. And the Plume app is this really fascinating internet safety thing that you can go in, you assign devices to each person. So say I have an iPad and I'm 12, you assign the iPad to that person. You can set bedtimes, you can set content restrictions. It gives you alarms, kind of some interesting features to it. And I have my son's computer set up to it. And it was like, this is the time to get off. If you don't get off, it shuts off for you. And so he was able to go onto YouTube and circumvent by watching a video. So, and that's at 10. And keeping up with all of that. And I was like, so this one didn't work very well. And so I went online and saw the same video and figured out how to circumvent that. But it's going so fast that being able to keep up with that information and that knowledge is sometimes hard. But for staying involved, it really can help. The biggest thing that we can do, you are their voice. Like, you are the people that they go to. You are where they're going to get their information from. And if they don't get it from you, then they'll get it from somebody else. But you are their #1 protection. So talking to them early, talking to them often. If you think that you can wait, if they have an online device, any device, if they have an online device and you think that you can wait to have conversations with them, now, granted, they need to be age appropriate, but they need to be aware of what they may see or what they may face and be able to have the tools to know this is not okay and be able to have that open communication to come to you. So that's what we're encouraging. It's just talking. Here's some of the hardest things, actually for me, is staying calm for some of the things you find out. Taking that breath, be like, okay, give me a second to process this. So walking away, you don't want to set the wall up. Does that make sense? Like when they come to you, if you flip out and then they want to come to you again, they're probably not going to come to you again. And sometimes that's hard. You have that knee-jerk reaction because you are not prepared for what comes out of their mouth. So that's probably one of the biggest key takeaways. Some of the thing about family commitments, when you get online, one of the biggest things to know and to understand is what are your commitments going to be with your learner? What are your commitments going to be with your children? Are you going to have a family contract? What are the ground rules going to be? Is there going to be a time to cut off? Is there going to be a time limit? And having those in place before they get online, which this may be a little bit late for some of y'all because we're talking about 9, 12-year-olds, but having those conversations, and this is one of the ones that I saw, is about what are the consequences. Taking their phone away is great, but you can't take it away forever. But they will have a phone, giving them the knowledge and the power of this is a learning, and this is how we're going to do moving forward. On this information packet. On the FOSSI.org,
Or tell them which page
And-
that's on.
it is on
Resources
page
for Internet
2.
Safety.
It's Resources for Internet Safety. InternetMatters.org has a family contract on there, so if you're wondering what maybe you want to put in yours, or if you want to use one that's already made, they have one on there. They also have tons of information on social media and online content management. One of the things I saw that I honestly did not even think of, and I love everything digital, but is knowing and understanding what your online identity is, what that reputation is. And they have kind of a sheet that you can go through and it has step-by-step directions for how to check what your online reputation is and what kind of things come up when you search yourself and what kind of things possible employers might see. There was a story not too long ago about a football player that was coming up, and he posted things on Twitter at, I want to say it was like 12, 13 years old. And when he was trying to go pro, they pulled up those posts that he made at 13, and he was held accountable. He went so many, he actually did end up being drafted, but it cost him millions of dollars. And he was still accountable for what he did at this age. So knowing what that online reputation is and knowing what you're posting, there's all kinds of interesting things. I also posted, there's some articles and specials. That Being 13 special is fascinating. They did so much research. Every person they interviewed was 13 years old. So it's really interesting what they have. The basic guidelines of thinking before you post. Is it thoughtful? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is a good guideline for everybody and almost everything we say or do. And it's in the handbook, yes. That's actually where I heard it when we were first coming out with our first social media stuff. There's a list of some interesting apps that you may have heard of and things that you may need to be aware of. Some of that stuff was interesting. Like you think that they're kind of common knowledge. Like TikTok is one app that a lot of people, Snapchat is another one. So just knowing what their content restrictions are and what your child may face if they're on those apps. Again, if you go back to the resources, they have guidelines on a couple of those websites that will walk you through all those things. So, yeah, there's just that. Yes, just like do their best for child protection. The conversation is going on. Okay.
All right, and so the way we approach all of this is within each studio, these three sessions. So if you're in Diamond, you're going to want to hear from Jen and Michael. The aim of this will be Tyler and Carol. And they will talk about lovemaking and reproduction, just like the basic, classic birds of bees kind of thing. Health and safety and consent and puberty. And really, like my experience in doing this, they are the most curious about puberty. Just like what is going to happen. And then they're the most, then, kind of coming after that is, how are babies born, that kind of thing. Like just real, factual information about their bodies, what's going to start happening in the future. But we do talk about, in the health and safety, we stress no means no. But we also try and look at it like, we kind of had this realization last year, like, if we could reframe this instead of like always looking at it like somebody's going to be a victim of this, and we could reframe it and begin to help people not make somebody the victim, that would be even more successful, right? So if there were never the victims, wouldn't that be great? So we try and talk about that. And then, particularly at this age, there's a couple of things that are going to go on. Like they are going to grow up, and set their own boundaries and all of that. But they also need to know, like, if something's happening to them now, they need to, that there are adults that they can come to. Because that's a huge statistic. And that one's not up there, but that is profound. So, and then we will have breakout sessions. So they will choose these sessions. And so we will cover gender identity and sexual identity. We'll have 2 chats, right? And those, they just come, and whatever questions they have, we answer, okay? And then peer pressure, and body image, and values. And
We don't call it pornography for the learners. We didn't have a better way to describe it for you all. Basically, some things that
sort of the things that we presented.
It's online,
here, you know? And then on that one, like, we really talk about how it skews their version of what is arousal, you know, like what's arousing, what sex is really like, all of that. Because the danger in it is that it does become like it's pleasurable, so it sets all of that in their mind. So we address that a lot. And you know, tons of kids don't even mean to get home, right? They Google one little thing, like boobs, and it's like, oh, you know. So it's super easy. So it's important that we have the conversation, but that you have the conversations too. We are not here to take over. We're here just to kind of be the second voice of the Do we have any? Oh,
Yeah.
resources. Yeah, we have a couple. Yeah.
All of this is in the packet that we gave you guys. So all of this, it's on the last.
And then I didn't, and I thought that Cody and Ethan put this together, but there's a podcast on NPR. And there's a great one on how to talk to your kids about sex, like young kids. And it's funny, this is the thing, I have all these podcasts.
While you're looking that up, can I just make a comment?
Yes,
Susan?
yeah.
So before you start asking questions, sometimes the biggest question becomes,
Like,
you know, how do you support our family's values? And, you know, so we want you to know, like, our job is that it gives your child values. That comes from you. And so we respect whatever values that you give. So sometimes these conversations, children will say, well, at our house, we don't believe in doing any of that until we're married. Like some people, that's their beliefs, you know, and that is okay. And other people have never had any conversation with their family to know. They're like, I don't know what our family believes, right? And so that's why we gave you all that upfront stuff, because without that, it's like there's a void. You know, if you're not having these conversations and talking about what your values are, and you're saying, my child's 9 years old, you know, like if they have access to any kind of technology, they have access to a lot more than what they were talking about right now. And they're getting it from the pornography side. It's just real. And so, you know, what we do is, you know, we don't say we believe at our school abstinence. We stay away from talk about what abstinence is. We talk about, you know, what all the components are, but we're not going to tell them what we're telling them to do. You know, like that's a value thing that comes from home.
And part of the sessions that we do cover talks about values in the sense that they get to talk with each other about their values or share with a smaller group. And then they get to go home and talk with you guys about that too. So there are those openings for them to really explore their own beliefs and their values in correlation to your family's beliefs and the facts and the information that they're being given here too.
And a lot of this comes from the curriculum for our whole lives, right? OWL program. And so you can Google that, as well as the sexual education components of the Department of Education, the United States Department of Education.
So Cece said, what was it?
Life Kit is the name of it, and it's a great podcast. I mean, like, so you can just listen to it in the car. It's not going to say anything, Life Kit, it's not going to say anything new, but it does provide information, like, you know, studies show that the more direct you are in these conversations, the healthier decisions are. No longer a child, but a teen adult make. You know, like, call a penis a penis, you know, like it's not a big deal. And the more you just kind of address it like that, the safer they are in their decisions.
So we can go ahead and include that, like pop that on the slideshow for when we share this with you guys. You can find it on there as well.
So all these things will be linked on the Inform Montessori blog, the video, as well as all the resources.
So some of these different resources up here, kind of listing. So if you look up here, we have 8 puberty books for boys, 6 helpful resources for girls going through puberty, and then some over here, like here's some helpful resources, like LGBTQ youth resources. There's kind of a list, and so you know, you might have to kind of click through. Luckily, it does provide a spectrum of different options based on like where you might personally end up. And so, but besides that, if you guys are going through this and you're just like, I just can't find anything on here that's super helpful, then once again, we want to partner with you guys through this, and so you can feel free to like let us know, and we can work alongside you guys in that. Plus, I have a 2-year-old, so I need to know how to do this someday anyway, and so you can give me some pointers.
And before you have this first relationship seminar, they're having these conversations all year long. Fair? You know, so sometimes people are like, I don't want my child to do this thing, or I don't want them to see this particular thing. Like, it's happening already. You know, it's happening next to the bathroom, it's happening during a math lesson, it's happening outside. Like, they're having all these conversations. And so, you know, we believe as a school that really this starts up at our infant toddler program of the nursery. You know, as soon as they start having questions or curiosity, we talk about, you know, no means no, stop means stop, you know, all of those things have that conversation from the time of birth. We don't say, you're not old enough. But I think one of the key points you all said before is don't give them too much information. Like if they ask you a question, ask more questions before you answer. And we've learned that a lot, you know, like we're like, oh, you want to know? They're like, no, I just wanted to know this. Like, oh, like that should have clarified. So, you know, and that's how you get to the developmental piece of that is that you just, you know, so what exactly do you mean? You know, tell me more. You know, those are great ways to start that one.
Now, what have you already heard?
Yeah.
What have you already heard?
It's okay, you can tell me anything. It's okay. You're like, but still.
Questions?
When you all discuss consent, is there a component of that discussing affirmative consent? I know that that's one of the, especially like with the Me Too movement of not just no means it's no, but making sure you get like an actual affirmative consent to that process. Just curious if that's part of the conversation.
I mean, I think it's a good reminder, you know, I don't know, you know, if each person.
I've never used affirmative consent, but I think we talked developmentally appropriate about like using your voice and advocating for yourself and standing for, and honest about like honest communication. Like if you're giggling and you're saying no, nobody's gonna take you seriously. So about how to do that and how that can happen in a really genuine way so that people know you mean what you're saying. So yeah.
One thing, I'm reading a book called Untangled. I think it's over there. That's over there. Guiding teenage girls through the 7 transitions into adulthood. And I mean, I love this book. But she talks a lot about, like, it's a therapist that works in a school. But she says that we tend to kind of forget that it's also a really nice thing, like an enjoyable thing to do, like, and not that you're selling it, but somehow we've kind of gone so far to the like danger side of it that we aren't talking about the loving side of it too, you know, and that's something that in your conversations with your kids to kind of address, and when, why, all of that, like the positive component of what that can be for each of us in our lives is really important. You know, I think it's good to be aware of and make sure to address it.
my son has a Switch, and a Nintendo Switch. So it's a second ago when you guys were talking about how they can access porn on anything. I Googled, can you watch porn on the Nintendo Switch? And there are like 3 websites like how to watch porn on a Switch. Like it's giving them directions on how to watch them. Like, oh my god. Yeah, I mean,
You thought that was safe.
It's so much faster than you know, like, I mean, so much is going on, it's like, I didn't even know, like, you know, like,
yeah. And also, I listened to an episode, like my son is in this age group, and there's an episode of Fresh Air about boys and sex. Did you listen to that? It was really,
What is this?
kind of mind-blowing.
Fresh
It's
Air.
the podcast, Fresh Air, and it was really good. So if you have a son, you might check it out.
yeah, well, like, in this Untangled, she's like, you know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'd like to just buy a pack of Playboys and hand them to boys now instead of this, because, like, the stuff they can see is so, disproportionately
Yeah.
violent and, you know, just like, so skewed the other way.
I would say that there's a lot of parental controls now. Like you can set them on the Switch, you can set them on the phone. I mean, I was debating, should I take the parental controls off my 15-year-old iPhone? Because he has to ask to download everything. I feel a little bad about that. But my son also has a Switch and is constantly on YouTube. So there are a lot more parental controls when you take the time to figure it out. You get screen time apps, but also, you know, mature apps or teen apps. I mean, the tech ways are getting a little better, giving parents more.
And
We gotta take time to figure it out.
on these, on the Internet Matters and the FOSI.org, both of those have a lot of information about all of the parental controls. And worst case scenario, you can always go on YouTube and Google it. I'm not kidding, like, and there's so many step-by-step videos as to this is how you can set this up. A quick funny story, we figured out that through our Amazon Alexa that we could shut off our son's Xbox. And so we kind of played a joke on him one day where we had set it up and we would whisper, Alexa, turn the Xbox off. And it would turn it off and you would hear him like, got really quiet and turned it back on. And then we did the same thing like a couple times. And about an hour into it, he's finally like, what are y'all doing? And so there's all kinds of ways that you can figure out how to do that. And if you have any questions, I've gone through a lot of them. I'll be more than happy to answer what I know.
But it doesn't trump the conversations, right? You know, like you can have a bulletproof wall.
It's not.
And, you know, I remember a learner said to me one time, you don't understand. You know, and I'm just gonna be blunt. We all give blowjobs. And I said, you know, I said, so how does it, you know, does it feel right to you? Because a lot of things I read in science is that until your brain is more developed, it's hard for you to understand when you're doing things that are more geared towards adults, you know, as a teenager. So I'm wondering how that really feels. And you don't have to answer that, but you might want to reflect on it, right? Like, they need us to have this level of conversation with them. Because if we go, you are never going out with that person again, like, all the walls, all the barriers don't change what they do, you know? And so it's trying to just be open and listening. And listening doesn't mean that you're telling them you agree. And you can always say, I don't know what I think about this right now. But, you know, I do want to hear what you have to say. Because I want you to know you can tell me anything. You know, you can tell me anything and I won't judge you. That might not be completely true, but you can say it anyway. Because they need to hear that from you. They need to know that they have your authentic love no matter what. You know, we've had young people that, you know, are sharing pictures with each other, naked pictures. And, you know, that is a very common practice. And not necessarily at your age level, but it's coming. And so you don't want to wait till it's there. You want to talk about it. You know, have you ever seen this before? You know, like, what would you do if someone wanted you to do that? How would you handle that? You know, and you do this role play with them now before they get to the point where they're like, Mom, get off. I'm not talking to you about that. You know, like they still have you in their court right now, and that's going to get further away. You know, and it's developmental. It's not because you anything you've done wrong. It just happens.
And like I said earlier, they will find, I mean, like if they want the information or if they want something bad enough, they will find the information to get around the parental controls. If you don't have the conversations as to how to handle what they're seeing and what they're going to see and what is safe and what is, establishing those values with them, it's really going to be a struggle, and they're not going to know how to handle that information when it does breach what you've set up.
In this generation, my top commitment that we would make as a family is when we see something, we say something, and we talk about it. And that's just the number one ground rule. And when you see something, you say something to one of us, and we talk about it. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be taken away from you. That's their fear. That they tell you what's on there or what they're seeing or what they're talking about or whatever, that you're going to end their life, in that way. So, what worries do you have? What questions? What thoughts? Because these guys are,
My biggest worry is that my oldest is already not shutting down, but we had in discussion since very early age, age appropriate of course, but it's just, oh mom, I don't want to talk about that, or and I try all the tricks we're driving, it's okay, I'm not looking at you.
Well, they're trapped in a movie.
Right, or playing a game, so what do you think about that, But it's already starting. The shutting down is already starting. The embarrassment. I already know. Without nagging or pushing or kind of, what do you do there? Without.
You say, hey, this is going to happen. Talk about lots of things as families, one things. If you don't want to do it now, that's fine. But we need to make a plan for when we're going to have this conversation because it's important to me. And so if you don't want to talk, then I will talk. And so once you start talking, they will start talking. And I really believe you make it kind of, and not punitive, just matter of fact and non-negotiable. So we started that conversation last week. You said you're gonna let me know. I'm just letting you know. I'm gonna give you to Wednesday, and then you and I are gonna have a date together. And this is what we're gonna talk about. So you can decide if you're gonna talk or not. That's up to you. But then at least they know that this is important, and you're not gonna just let it go because they're uncomfortable with it. And more than likely, they want to hear it. And it gets easier when you do it more often.
I find when Sophie is with a friend, I get a lot more information. They're not, suddenly it's not them telling me, but I get this roundabout bucket load of information. And then I kind of just hold on to it, and then when the friend's not there, I can be but just, there are things that guys that I thought were great guys, they were texting her, saying stuff, and asking for pictures, and it's just and just talking to her about how to continue to set those limits and set those limits and set those limits and all of that. So that's, they just having, being around when they have friends around, you tend to hear, and they're not, I'm not eavesdropping, we're all having a conversation. But I tend to get a lot of information that way too.
I would say I bought a bunch of books from the library, all the puberty, all the sex books a couple years ago. She's 9 now, but this is when she was 7. I just kind of left them with her, and you could see her just kind of at her own leisure, kind of having that curiosity. And now at 9, she's asking questions. It was later after she's now seen this happening in school, it's happening in her body. Now she's remember those books? So now she's able to realize what she was reading. And now I'm how many more books?
Yeah, if you look at Our Whole Lives, they have a whole list of recommended books that are age appropriate, and it's Perfectly Normal, and then there's a level for 4 to 5-year-olds, and then it goes up. They break it into grade levels. So at this level, I can't remember what the book, but if you go,
It's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
It's right in between,
exactly.
It's more
Right.
cartoony drawings and
Yeah,
stuff.
so, but they go through and talk developmentally, and that's what we did, was just give them the books and let them look through them, and then like you said, just still have the conversations, whether they're comfortable. It's not gonna be, just tell my kids, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to hear about it, so, and they know that I'm gonna just be very open and talk, and a lot, so. I mean, so they're.
Yeah, we don't have to take it personal what they say. We're just what we're
I'm
doing.
like, this is the facts of life and you're gonna learn it and I'm gonna be the one to teach it initially, so. But I also teach how, so.
Earlier, you said that you were trying to focus a little bit more this year on, like, instead of like, what do I do if I'm a victim, but just how to not put people in a position where they might be the victim. So that's basically don't be a perpetrator, right? So could you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, we don't have like a just curriculum, but we talk about like, what's it mean to sort of want something that somebody else doesn't, and how to handle when they're saying they don't, or even how to handle like, and then we can put it in context of stuff they do, like they're playing football with somebody and it's fun, and the other person's sort of like, I'm done, and they get mad, but it's like, we can get mad, the other person can say they're done, like that's okay, and so kind of giving them examples like that, so they begin understanding, like, sometimes people change their minds, and that's okay, and so you can feel frustrated, but then you have to kind of find a way to relax and move on. But if you have any ideas, we're open to ways to talk about it.
There's some curriculum out there, globally at least, that deals with teaching. What I'm thinking of is teaching boys to be protectors and advocates. So when they see another boy, so when somebody's saying, "Yeah, I'm going to ask her to send me those new pictures," say, "Wait a minute, I thought you were a cool guy. I don't want to." No, that's not okay. It's not okay to treat her like but kind of that.
Like bystander training almost.
Yeah.
It's the holding each other accountable. So when you see someone doing something negative like that, you become the person. I also feel like this particular area is where affirmative consent would be so important, because it's not just if she says no, it means no. It's also unless she says yes. Along the steps of where you're going, if you don't hear that yes, that's protecting her, but it's also protecting him. And I mean, the roles can be reversed. Like women can be the perpetrators too, but
You can just say they, we either whatever it is.
Incorporating that idea of affirmative consent in with like this holding your friends accountable if you see that you kind of feel like they're crossing a line, because I feel like that really does protect everybody in the equation. And it's something I teach my boys, just this idea, like you can't just assume.
Right.
To make sure, because a lot of times somebody may do something they don't want to do because even if you're not pressuring them, they feel like they should do this. They like society puts that pressure on them. So I don't know, just adding that kind of into the conversation.
We really appreciate all of you guys coming out and all of your support in these conversations. And we're all really here for your kids, like all of us, and for their safety and development, good health. Thanks.
You might be coming back for the state of the school at 7. We want to make sure you get out of here to go get some dinner before you come back. But these guys will be around for a few minutes. If you have any questions, we'll probably just head out to the Woods Commons though, since the staff's all going to be in here in like 10 minutes. We have our big staff meeting. Thank you so much.
And if you haven't signed up for